Welcome to Channel Portal to Life. In this video, we'll uncover the invisible mechanisms of the world around us, how disasters, wars, and even personal struggles like unemployment aren't just random events, but reflections of deeper energetic patterns. You'll discover how your attention, your fears, and your emotions may unknowingly entangle you in these forces, and most importantly, how to break free from their grip. Prepare to see reality through a different lens. Disaster. Many people, in one way or another, agree that it's theoretically possible for them to end up in a disaster. But not everyone allows this possibility to enter the layer of their personal world. Some people don't watch TV series. They aren't interested in news. They don't worry about every little event that happens somewhere else, to someone else. They live in their own reality, adhering to other pendulums. They don't feel concerned when they hear that a plane has crashed somewhere in the world. They simply listen to the news while calmly finishing their dinner. They have enough of their own problems. People become more vulnerable to induced transitions when they develop an interest in disasters, when they worry and obsess about tragedies happening to others. If someone's life isn't packed with problems, they often fill that void by focusing on external events, immersing themselves in layers of other people's lives. Such people read tabloids, binge TV series, or actively follow news about catastrophes and disasters. Tabloids and TV shows are minor, mostly harmless pendulums. They simply fill gaps in emotion, excitement, and information. But paying attention to destructive pendulums, catastrophes, disasters, is far more dangerous. These pendulums are strong and aggressive. When a person starts focusing on these events, their thoughts begin to resonate with the pendulum's frequency. It starts harmlessly. You read negative news, feeling like a distant observer, just watching from the sidelines. But gradually, you become more engaged, like a sports fan cheering from the stands. Soon, you feel compelled to jump into the game, chasing the ball, though you haven't touched it yet. Step by step, you get more involved, until you finally get to kick that ball. You're no longer just an observer, you've become a participant. In this case, a victim of disaster. How could it be otherwise? Once you've let disasters into your life's layer, even unwillingly, you've accepted the victim's role. You've materialized a negative variation of your reality. Of course, you didn't want to become a victim, but that doesn't matter. Once you've accepted the pendulum's game, it's no longer you who decides the rules. The pendulum does. For many others, the disaster may seem like random misfortune, but for you, it becomes a logical, predictable outcome. If you ignore the destructive pendulum's push, you simply won't find yourself in the middle of a disaster. Your probability of experiencing one will be nearly zero. You might ask, but why do thousands of people die in disasters? Does this mean they all thought about catastrophes at once? Here's the truth. You're not alone in this world. You are surrounded by countless others who actively fuel destructive pendulums, constantly emanating negative energy. Nobody can fully isolate themselves from this collective radiation. It's a deeply ingrained behavior, rooted in ancient herd instincts. Long ago, aligning with the group's fears helped people survive. That's why this energy field keeps growing, snowballing, pulling more people into the funnel. Your goal? Stay as far away from the funnel's center as possible. This means don't allow disaster-related information to penetrate your consciousness. Don't live through these events emotionally. Don't discuss them. Simply let such news drift by, like clouds in the sky. There's a difference between avoiding information and not letting it reach you. Avoidance creates tension, which feeds the pendulum. Instead, you must ignore it. Remain indifferent. Don't resist. Don't fight. Don't fear. Simply don't react. Shift your attention to neutral, harmless sources, relaxing TV shows, uplifting books. War. War begins in the same way as any ordinary fight. It all starts with one side expressing its opinion. The other side disagrees, and this disagreement becomes the first push of a destructive pendulum. In response, the second side pushes back, but with greater force. The first side counters with even more aggression, and so it escalates. Each exchange intensifies the conflict until it erupts into physical violence. This is how pendulums collide, swinging against each other with increasing force. Though many factors contribute to wars and revolutions, their essence remains the same. First, people are told their lives are miserable. Most agree. That's the first push accepted by the pendulum. Then comes the second message. Other people are preventing your happiness. This triggers anger. The pendulum gains momentum. Soon after, provocations arise, deliberate actions that ignite outrage. By now, the pendulum has gathered enough force to launch war or revolution. Each swing triggers retaliation, and the pendulum keeps swinging higher. Those involved in the conflict are swept into an avalanche-like transition, shifting onto life tracks where tension and violence intensify. Stopping this process is only possible at the very beginning. If you respond to the first provocation peacefully or simply step aside, the pendulum may lose its grip and collapse. When that happens, no transition occurs. You remain on your current life track, avoiding the destructive shift. However, if you allow yourself to get drawn in, agreeing to the pendulum's game, your energy begins to match the frequency of the conflict's spiral. Once that happens, you shift onto a new life track, one marked by war. Sadly, even if one individual avoids reacting, it doesn't guarantee safety. If you step into a powerful whirlpool, escaping it becomes nearly impossible. Still, by refusing to engage with the pendulum's game, you gain additional chances to survive, or at least minimize the damage. Now you understand what it really means to reject war. It doesn't mean hating it or opposing it with protests. Whether you support or fight against war, it makes no difference to the pendulum. It feeds off both sides equally. The moment you radiate energy at the frequency of war, whether through anger, fear, or protest, you transition onto its destructive track. If you acknowledge war, you're already on the battlefield. If you fight against war, you're still trapped within its energy field. The only true way to reject war is to ignore it. Of course, this isn't always possible, and that's the danger of induced transitions. But at the very least, it's wise to avoid taking sides, neither for nor against. Throughout history, there have always been neutral nations, standing aside, watching others destroy themselves. Look at the protests and demonstrations against wars. From the pendulum's perspective, these furious opponents are just as valuable as its supporters. You have now seen how subtle forces shape not only world events, but also individual lives. Disasters, wars, and other destructive events may seem like random misfortunes, but in truth, they often follow predictable patterns powered by our own thoughts, fears, and attention. Stay aware, stay calm, and choose carefully what you allow into your personal reality.